Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Shapiro, CEO of Huge, which is a digital marketing and design firm. And I'm also author of an upcoming book that is being published by Penguin in October called Users Not Customers, Who Really Determines the Success of Your Business. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about some of the ideas that led to my writing the book. So I've been using the internet for a really long time, far too long. This is my first computer, the IBM XT, when I was 9 years old. My dad was a professor, so I got internet access, which was possible in the early 80s. So I've been fortunate to see the internet evolve over the last 30 years. And what's pretty interesting is that there's an inflection point happening in technology that's not really very well known, that's happening right around now, which is if you look at people who buy stuff online, like you buy on Amazon by buying a book or something, or people who will research online and then buy in a store, that's actually, starting in about 6 months from now, going to be half to the majority of all sales online, all sales that exist in our economy. So it's a pretty big shift if you think about it, where the majority of transactions that happen in our world are going to be happening because of digital. So what's interesting if you think about this kind of world is that when most sales are driven by digital, we're entering this environment where there's no such thing as an offline business. Every single business is online and digital, and there needs to be a strategy for every company to really be successful in the digital environment. So if some of you are skeptical to this kind of very bold statement, I would encourage you to talk to people who are, let's say, 20 or 19 or 18, like my cousin Tara, for example, who'll be very embarrassed if she knew that I stole her photo and put it up here. And basically, she has 700 Facebook friends. She doesn't know what it means to go online because she's always online. She's part of this kind of post-digital generation. She hates shopping, except when it's through her mobile phone or through a computer. She hates watching TV unless it's through something like Hulu. So this is really kind of the new world that we're entering. And when Tara hits a few years from now and she becomes the mainstream consumer, that's going to be a profound change in our society and how businesses have to react. So the question is, what should businesses do, and how do you avoid the fate of your company becoming Circuit City or Blockbuster, or all these stalwarts of companies that have gone out of business in the last 10 years? And we're really just getting started on the level of disaggregation in our economy that's going to cause this kind of change. So at Huge, in between eating sandwiches, which was embarrassingly a picture from the New York Times, we think a lot about digital technology and how companies really can solve these problems. We've been fortunate enough to see the inside of a lot of companies like Target and JetBlue and IKEA and how they really go about solving these problems. And we came up with some hypotheses of what it takes to be successful in this new environment. And we coupled that with an internal study that we did with the Fortune 1000, looking at who are the most digitally savvy companies, which we established as what we call the digital leadership set, which you can see right here, and the companies that weren't as successful. And we really looked at what are the things that make companies successful and not successful in this new business reality. And that's a lot of what the book is about. So our core hypothesis is, so I was misfortunate enough to go to business school for 2 years, and all I heard in business school was customers, 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 focus on customers and you'll be successful. This is what 30 years of management consultants have been telling us. But what we're finding is that that's not really correct in this new reality of everything being so digitally oriented. And the companies that are most successful have a very different approach to how they drive and grow their business, which is they focus on users. And what we mean by that is those are the ecosystem of everyone who uses a company's digital footprint. So this could be things like your website, it can be Twitter, Flickr, Facebook, it can be things like mobile applications, really any way directly companies interact with your digital footprint, and that's really the driver of success. And these can be customers, most customers are users nowadays, but it could also be things like job candidates, employees, partners, really anyone who interacts with your broader digital footprint are really users, and that's a lot of what new companies are starting to think about, is how to really be successful with that audience. So the thing that we find is that companies that are really successful have this relentless focus on meeting user needs. And those people that do that are really successful, and that if you really focus on growing your user base, then customers will naturally follow. And that's a lot of what we find is what's really successful driving in this new economic order. So we call this notion of this kind of another way to think about this kind of business is that most companies have a core business they've been doing forever. This could be things like I make shoes or I sell shoes. And now these companies are building this kind of software layer around their entire ecosystem, which is the way that companies interact with their business. And increasingly, this software layer is what determines the success of a company more than the core business itself. So we find that companies are really managing these two things, which is both the core business and their software layer. And when they combine, they create what we call the user-first company, which is this new model we see of how businesses should be run. So what does a user-first company look like? In the research that we did, we found that there are 7 main drivers to what a user-first company is and how it's structured properly. And this is a high-level chart showing what this kind of company looks like. So there's basically 4 main drivers you can see on the right with external touch points. And that's really a special way companies will do products, marketing, sales, and customer services to reach users. And then there are 3 internal drivers, which is how the company does management, organization, technology that kind of propels a company's growth moving forward. And through the book, we devote a chapter to each one of these areas and these principles to really go in depth about how a company should be structured properly to be successful in this new environment. So to give you a little snapshot of some of the ideas behind some of these principles, just in the short time we have left, if you look, for example, with Pepsi, I'm not sure how many of you have seen the story, but Pepsi took $20 million from the Super Bowl. They decided to move that to a giant social media campaign where they fund good causes called the Pepsi Refresh Project, which really transformed their business in terms of how they do marketing and really how they communicate with brands in the outside world. A very different way of doing market than blasting tons of TV spots. Similarly, Nutrisystem is a dieting service. They ship food to your home that you then use for the dieting program. And what they've done is that they've combined that old world thinking with new tools and utilities and community that helps you lose weight and diet. And that combination of online and offline creates a degree of power in the product mix that's much, much more profound than what you could do on their own. That really propelled them to success. We're also seeing this for nonprofit and government as well. For example, if you look at, there's a concept that we talk about called disposable technology, which is a way of very kind of agile, lean way of people use technology to build products that are very receptive to user needs, which is a lot of how the new government websites are being built, like Energy and White House and the new White House website. So that's it for me. I'm done. For those of you interested further, please buy the book. Users Not Customers, coming out October 27. Thanks for your time.